My parents divorced when I, nearly adult male, was 5. I'm not sure why. Part of me has always figured Dad cheated on Mum because he was with someone suspiciously fast afterward, like that same month fast, but my mum never spoke about it. She just told me both she and Dad loved me and that would never change and I would never have to choose between my parents. My dad was in 2 live-in relationships post-divorce. When I was 7, he was with Jen and had Luna tween with her, and then when I was 10, he was with Bree and had Harry pre-tween with her. Jen and Bree stopped being moms to their kids, so my dad became a single full-time parent to my half-siblings. From that point onward, my dad has tried to convince Mom she could step up and at least fill some kind of female role model relationship with them. He also corrects me on the half-siblings term and says we're just siblings, and if I were to call them just my siblings, it might soften Mum's heart to be a female or maternal figure for them. He would ask Mom on my behalf to let me have my half-siblings over to her house during her custody time. My parents share equal time with me. He would claim I missed my half-siblings when I was gone, and I wanted to spend every holiday with them, etc. None of this is true. I never said those things or implied them. Luna is having a really hard time with no female family members. She has a dad, 2 half-brothers and an uncle. So Dad has been more forceful about Mom's part in all of this lately, and now he's trying to rope me in more. He sat me down recently and told me my half-siblings deserve to have Mom, and I could help them with that. I could share my mom and let them feel the love they deserve to feel. He said I've accepted that he only had 1 kid with Mom and she was only obligated to care for me. His answer to that was that I was disappointing him with both my response and lack of concern for the overall well-being of my half-siblings, and he told me to do better, be better, and care more about my innocent little siblings. I told Mom about it and she tore Dad a new one for putting this on me. She told me I was not wrong in what I said to him. But my uncle also said I could have more compassion for my innocent half-siblings. Am I the idiot? OMG, not the idiot. You or your mother have no obligation to provide a mom to your half-siblings. Your father is a moron to think his first wife needs to mother his next 2 children with other women. Your uncle's opinion is irrelevant. Let me take a wild guess. This uncle is your dad's brother. Shaking my head. None of this is on you. Your dad just wants time away from his kids, so if he can palm them off to your mum and find a 4th woman to have a kid with, yikes. Let's be honest here, it's not about him wanting his children to bond or a mommy for his children because he can find one elsewhere. He wants his children, no B, to be out the house half the time. It comes down to the fact that Dad doesn't view women as individuals. He sees them as interchangeable and based on services they can provide and the tasks they do, like an employee, not a person and not a partner. This is probably why his relationships eventually fail. Does your dad collect kids? How on earth is it your responsibility to share your mom? Like that's even a thing. What, does he think she's a pizza? Your siblings would be fine without a mom if your father stopped pointing out that they're missing out. Dad is just looking for a free babysitter, but Dad picked the mothers of these kids and he chose poorly. That's on him, not your mom. It sounds like the best thing for you would just be to go stay with Mom. Let Dad figure his life out without putting any of it on you. My daughter's husband has lived in their apartment for several years. The owners recently sold it and the new ones are moving in, so my daughter and her husband must move. The problem is rents have gone up dramatically. The rent they're paying is $1,100 for a 1-bedroom, which I thought was a lot, but now that I'm trying to help them find a place, most are now going for around $2,000 a month or more. They can't afford this. My daughter knows she's always welcome at home, granted a baby complicates things. I wasn't happy about her having a baby. She's young, just turned 22, but I would never deny her housing. However, I can't stand her husband. Let's just call him Aaron for simplicity's sake. I wouldn't invite Aaron over for dinner, let alone let him live with me. Aaron's in his mid-30s, criminal history, hair-trigger temper. Chronic immaturity and jealousy and possessive streaks have caused a strain in their relationship, which I obviously do not approve of. Honestly, when she told me she was pregnant, I finally thought we'd be rid of Aaron. I genuinely thought he was exactly the kind of man to ditch. They've been on and off over and over since she was about 18 or 19. Alas, if anything, it made him cling to her tighter. They had a very rushed wedding, and this is their longest stint together without any breakups, just over a year. There's still been a fair share of dramatics, of course, but I'm surprised they've made it this far. Even so, I simply don't want to live with Aaron. I don't like him. I don't want him around me. I go above and beyond for my daughter and the baby. They can stay as long as they need, but not him. Obviously, this has created a rift between my daughter and me. She doesn't want to live separately from Aaron. I told her that she needed to figure out alternative arrangements. Well, their move-out date is rapidly approaching, next week, and they still haven't been able to find a place, and she's panicking. She's been begging me to let them stay. I reiterated my terms. Aaron simply cannot stay here. This led to a lot of tears and some angry words, namely me being an idiot. I can genuinely see why she might think that, but I also have to think about myself and my own sanity. Not the idiot. If she's adult enough to get pregnant and get married, she's also adult enough to figure things out. Either she accepts your terms, it's your house, or they can stay with friends or his family. Can't have it both ways. Aaron's a one-man communist parade. He comes with so many red flags. A man in his 30s chasing a teenager. Criminal record. Anger management issues. Jealous, possessive, controlling. The best thing you could do for your daughter would be to get her to leave Aaron, but unfortunately she's not ready. Keeping this boundary and keeping your home open to her and her child only may, in fact, work in the long run when she's ready to leave, because she will know she has a safe place open to her. But until then, you're likely going to be kept away from your daughter and grandbaby. Your daughter and Mr. Wonderful have had ample time to find housing. It's down to the wire. You've opened your home to your daughter and the baby. It's not your responsibility to bail out two broke adults with the baby. Mr. Wonderful can find a temporary place to stay. Your daughter is young, and I'm sure she thinks Mr. Wonderful hung the moon, but their predicament isn't your problem to solve. You offered her a place to stay, the ball is in her court. She chose a loser, and that carries consequences. Stand your ground, OP. I go above and beyond for my daughter. Evidently not. If that were true, your daughter and her husband would already be living with you. Or better, you would have stopped a grown man from grooming your teenage daughter years ago. So it's time to nut up or shut up. If you truly go above and beyond for your daughter as you claim, then it should be obvious what to do. A few years ago, I, 25 male, was accused of fathering a child with my sister's, 23 female, best friend. She had some weird obsession with me, as we came to find out. This accusation caused a lot of drama in the family, including, for a time, my parents refusing to talk to me for not taking responsibility and having this woman in their house to live. My stepsister, 26, did something I would never recommend anyone do, but I'm so glad that it worked out for me. She outed me to my family as gay. My stepsister has been my BFF since we were 5 and before our parents were together, so she knows everything about me and was only one of 2 people to know. She did this out of frustration for how they treated me. Still, unfortunately, they thought it was a last-ditch effort to save face until my great-grandma, the only other person to know, barreled in, telling everyone off for their BS and whipping them back into order. After all that, we found out that my sister was in on this weird thing with her friend to baby-trap me so her friend could be with me and they could be sisters. The rest of the family disowned her for causing all that. Since then, my parents have been on thin ice but have actually been very apologetic, and honestly, I feel like they overly favour me to make up for all that. My sister has made contact with our parents wanting to be part of the family again. My parents gave me the option of letting her or not. I didn't take any of the options and told them to decide for themselves, but I did lay down the fact that I would no longer be a part of their lives if they let her back into the family. Am I the idiot for making my parents not welcome my sister back into the family? Edit, my sister's friend didn't know I was gay. The only people who knew were my stepsister, 26, my great-grandma. My other sister, 23, and her friend didn't know. I brought up paternity tests a lot, but at the time my family saw it as a desperate lie. Plus, I couldn't really force it unless I had money to petition a DNA test from the courts. I think my parents gave me the choice out of guilt for what happened. I can't be certain. Sister hasn't apologised. That's what bothers me so much. Yeah, not the idiot. Sis threw you under a very big bus for a very childish and selfish reason and was willing to let you pay whatever price came to you while she kept her mouth shut and got what she wanted. You're entirely in the right to say you're not going to have anything to do with her and anyone who accepts her over a stunt like that. She chose when she tried to commit paternity fraud on you. That is really weird behaviour, and I truly hope for their sake that she's gotten help and is now stable. I truly am not sure I'd let someone who did something like that move into my house, especially if I hadn't been in contact with them in a while, even if it was my child. You're perfectly within your right to cut contact. Not sure an ultimatum will do any good, but you need to protect your sanity. Sorry you've been put in this position. I, 26 female, am getting married next year. I have a niece who is a pre-tween, we'll call her Jess, and my partner has a niece who's 5, we'll call her Ava. Jess is painfully shy. She's cried through every school function she's been in, hates having her photo taken, and takes a long time to warm up to people. So when we picked our flower girl, the obvious choice was Ava, and that seemed fine until a few weeks ago. Now Jess is becoming jealous. Ava was practicing the other day and she tried to rip the basket out of her hands and we had to separate them. She keeps complaining about Ava getting a dress with a bow, calling her a stupid baby. Jess's mother is mad at me now, saying that I shouldn't have based my decision on Jess's previous actions and that I should let her be my flower girl because she wants to be one so very bad. When I said that I wasn't changing my mind so close to the wedding, she said that my favoritism was showing. I'm not trying to play favorites, I just thought Jess would be miserable in that situation. Had no idea that this would be such a big deal. Am I the idiot for my choice of flower girl? Edit, Jess's mom said that she doesn't have to apologize to Ava for being physical because these are big feelings for a little girl. You are the idiot. Have some sympathy for the child. I tell her she can also be a flower girl if she wants to. She can have a pretty dress with a bow and she can walk down the aisle with Ava. And if she freaks out when it's time to actually walk, tell her it's fine, she doesn't have to do it, and she can have a seat. I mean, she's just a little kid. If the only reason you didn't pick her is because you thought she wouldn't want to do it, at least give her the opportunity. I disagree. She's old enough to know that a tantrum is not how you get what you want and that behaviour should not be rewarded. Jess is calling the other girl names and throwing fits. Imagine dealing with that on top of everything else on the wedding day. The mom certainly doesn't sound like she has any control over her child, so there's no reason to think it would be any different the day of. Not the end if my wife had let the relationship grow naturally, but she didn't take any of my warnings and bulldoze what my mom wanted. A few examples. She kept calling her mum even after she told her multiple times to call her by her name. Lily would make her uncomfortable, especially when she asked my mom personal questions or went way too deep. I've talked to her so many times, but she doesn't stop. The family has taken their concerns with me and have told her to stop. The big turning point was when my mom and her daughters, my sisters, went to visit a deceased family member. It's a tradition between the three of them. Well, Lily heard about it and went. It went very poorly and my sisters dislike Lily now too. We're invited to events and are still in the family, but the women of the family keep their distance. There's a girls' trip coming and she wasn't invited. This made my wife very upset and was ranting. I had enough when Lily said she was her kid. I snapped and told her my mother would never be her mom and you need to stop. She ended up crying and now I feel guilty. I just don't know how to get it through her head that she needs to stop. I've talked with her so many times and she's already in therapy. I see both sides of the story here. I feel so sad for your wife but also for your family. I can imagine your wife thinking for a long while that once she gets married, she'd finally have parents. It was her last chance to get some in her mind, I'm sure. Unfortunately, that's not always how life works, and I don't think you were the idiot for saying what you said. It's good that you did. She can finally realize that they'll never accept her as their own. Hopefully she'll stop trying so hard. My heart goes out to her though. Sure does sound like the therapy isn't working. I'm sure you could have told her what you did gentler, but I'm still going not the idiot. It sounds like she's been warned and told so many times. At what point does she take responsibility for her actions? Your family is enforcing boundaries. Lily can't and won't behave appropriately towards them, so your family members are minimizing her opportunities to behave inappropriately. Info, why is your mom so against her being close to her in the first place? I'm shocked by how many people judge based only on the information at hand. The timeline is confusing to me. When did she start calling her mum? How did the family welcome her or not welcome her? Everyone is talking about boundaries, but I'm sorry. Asking personal questions of a family you're married to doesn't sound like some awful thing. Mom seems to be insensitive. I mean, she has the right to set up boundaries, but it almost seems like she isn't willing to accept OP's wife as part of the family. I feel very sorry for Lily.